Fine, let's take the brief overview of what we had done yesterday. We had seen all the methods of finding the cost of equity. Every formula were discussed. Along with that, we had also solved one practical sum of the CAPM, capital asset pricing model. I am taking one more question today where CAPM as well as the dividend yield method will be discussed practically, and then we'll move to the cost of debt. Let's go to the cost of equity. You may just take a snap of it if you want to, so that you won't have to refer it again and again. I'm zooming it up further so that you can take a snap of it. Okay, let's start reading the question. Find the cost of equity from the following details of Vittal TD Limited by using the CAPM approach and also by using the dividend yield approach. We are aware about the formulas of both. Earnings of the company is 40 lakhs rupees. Number of equity shares which are right now circulated in the market, 3 lakh 50,000. Dividend per share is 7.5 rupees. Return on investment by the company is 12%. If company wants to invest its funds somewhere, it is able to get 12% return on it. Market price of the share, my friends, 140 rupees. Return on risk-free government bonds 9%. Beta of the company 1.8. Return from the market we have seen historically is 15%. So as per the CAPM, first I'm finding it because that's gonna be easy for us. CAPM, expected cost of equity, or I may call KE, equal to risk-free rate plus beta of the company in bracket market return minus risk-free rate. Sir, the risk-free rate given to us straight away, we are not supposed to run our own mind there. Just write as it is 9%. I can also write it 0.09. It is advisable to write it in decimal to avoid the confusion, because when you will be multiplying some beta with the percentage, no, then some people might get confused over there. So it's advisable to write it in decimal, and ultimate answer will be converting into percentage. Beta 1.8, quite a sensitive company it is. .15 is the return from the market, minus 0.09 is the risk-free rate we are aware about, equal to 0.09 plus 1.8 multiplied by 0.06, 0.09 plus, can someone tell me the final answer please?
0.198.
0.198. If I convert that into percentage, my friend, that 19.8% we get as per CAPM. लेकिन हमारी अधूरी कहानी, हमें और भी आगे बढ़ना है, बहुत आगे बढ़ना है, धीरे धीरे धीरे, होले होले होले. पार्ट नंबर 2, KE as per dividend yield method. Now this dividend yield method is also referred as Gordon's growth model, dividend growth model as well. So there are 2 to 3 names of it, so you shouldn't get confused with those names. So whenever you see the Gordon or dividend, straight away apply this formula. So sir, as per that, the KE was, let's just write the formula, then we'll find the variables of it, equal to D1 divided by P0 plus G. Now D1 stands for the dividend including the growth rate of the current year. Let's read the question. Any information related to that given to us? Dividend per share is 7.5 straight away given to us. Now see, it is of the current year only. If the words would have been used like the dividend of the last year, then in the last year's dividend you add the growth rate. But if the dividend per share straight away simple given to you, then you assume that it is including the growth rate of the current year, right? So 7.5. So please put it in the back of your mind. If such kind of terminology is used, no, that dividend of the last year, then you will also be adding the growth rate of the current year. But if dividend per share is given to you, you just take straight away whatever the amount given to you. 7.5. Market price is also given to us, sir. How much? 140 rupees. Now here comes the problem. We are supposed to find the G. Now G is not given to us straight away, but can be found. Now some people will be like, sir, आपको अंतर्ज्ञान हुआ, आप तो बहुत बड़े अंतर्यामी निकले, आपको कैसे मालूम पड़ गया कि we are supposed to find the G? My friend, there are few hidden information given to us, which gives us the hint about finding the growth rate. The first hint is return on investment, first of all. Then second hint is, see, you have got the number of shares as well, you have got the earnings of the company too. Now why this information would be given to you? Can someone identify this? Try to run your logic, try to see the formula of the growth rate we had discussed yesterday. How you'll be using this information? Earnings of the company, numbers of shares. Along with that, you have got the return of investment on the rate of return of investment, ROI. Will anyone? सर सुबह सुबह क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं आप, अभी तक हमने ब्लैंकेट ऊपर से उठाया नहीं है, तो ब्लैंकेट मत लगाओ बेटा, अभी तो गर्मी चल रही है, अभी क्या ब्लैंकेट की जरूरत है? बारिश आएगी, 4-5 दिन में आने वाली है बारिश। मुंबई में तो आ चुकी, मतलब अभी इधर 15 जून के आजू बाजू में रहता है टाइम अपना। एनीवन? नहीं सर, मेरे को ही करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है चलो। सर, द ग्रोथ रेट कैन बी फाउंड बाय यूजिंग अ फॉर्मूला. Now the problem why if I switch over there in the Google Meet, no, that I'll have to activate my pen again and again over here. I don't know why. That was not happening earlier. So I'll again be activating my pen and now I'm starting it. Okay. So sir, G is retention ratio multiplied by ROE or ROI. In this case, ROI is given. Return on equity is not given. Return on investment is given to us. Now here in this case, retention ratio can be found by using the EPS and the dividend per share. Earning per share and dividend per share can be found, and then we can find the retention ratio. So first of all, just write the earnings of company. Some people are just staring at the screen. You should also be doing it. 40 lakhs rupees. वो हवन में और पूजा में बैठते हैं ना, ऐसा हाथ लगा के कि तुम करो, मैं सिर्फ हाथ लगा कर बैठा हूँ। आलसी लोग, वैसे वाला आलसी लोग है आप। 40 lakhs divided by the number of shares, so you get the EPS, right? So I'm just writing the number of shares as well. 3,50,000. So we get the earning per share. Let me use the full form. So earning per share 40 lakhs divided by 3,50,000, how much? Let me do it. Otherwise मैं पूछता हूँ और बच्चे मेरा पोपट कर देते हैं। 3,50,000. So we get 11 point pen is not working. 11.4286. I'm taking up to 4 digits. So you people are aware, no, that from this you can have two parts. You know, one is the dividend per share, another one is the retained earning per share. Now dividend per share is already given to you. Dividend per share. Sir, how much? How much? That is 7.5 rupees. Now from 11.4286, if you pay 7.5, then what is the dividend payout ratio? So I can also write it like DP ratio equal to 7.5 divided by 11.4286. Can someone tell me what do we get there? Some people will be like, sir, आपके पास एक्सेल है, कर क्यों नहीं लेते? लेकिन मुझे आपको करवाना है ना, मुझे तो सब कुछ आता है, मैं तो कंप्लीट कर दूं पूरा सब्जेक्ट. How arrogant it is, no? मुझे तो सब कुछ आता है.
0.656.
0.656. Okay, so it can also be written like 65.6% you are making as the dividend payout ratio, and rest 1 minus dividend payout ratio is the retention ratio. So retention ratio equal to 1 minus DP ratio. फाइनेंस में डीपी रेशियो का मतलब होता है डिविडेंड पे आउट रेशियो, वो वाला अपना व्हाट्सएप वाला डीपी नहीं, इक्वल टू 1 माइनस 0.656. So what do we get? 0.344.
0.344.
Very good. Okay, now this can be used to find the growth rate, and ROI is anyway given to us. So just put the retention ratio 0.344 multiplied by ROI is given to us. We are writing that in a decimal only. That's gonna be 12%. 0.12 multiply that. May we have the answers, please? What do we get there?
It is 0.0412.
0.0412 can also be written like 4.12%. Right, so let me just take it over there in the main formula. कुछ लोग कहाँ से शुरू होते हैं ना, वहां से भूल जाते हैं. बेटा अपना मेन फॉर्मूला ऊपर है, उधर तक पहुंचो. So G equal to, first of all, let's just solve this 7.5 divided by 140. What do we get there?
0.0536.
Okay. 0. ये देखो फिर से हो गया एक्सेल हैंग. क्या बताया था? 0.05
0.0536.
Okay, 36 plus the growth rate we have found 0.0412. Let's total it up. That's gonna be the cost of equity
0.0948.
0.0948. Good. So it can also be written like 9.48%. And guys, you people must have observed that there is a lot of difference between the cost of equity as per the CAPM and as per the dividend yield method. Now see, there are two types of returns. One is the dividend return, another one is the increment in market price. Any shareholder would expect these two types of return. Now increment in market price may be substituted by the growth rate, appropriate growth rate. Now we can conclude from this, now this is slightly outside the topic, but still just for the better interpretation, that investors are expecting less growth rate as far as the dividend yield method is concerned. It's just 4.12 percentage. But if you take the market returns into account, risk-free rate into account, the beta of the company into account, then it comes somewhere around 19.8 percentage as per the CAPM. And the company's expected, rate of return somewhere comes to 9.48 as per the dividend yield. Now that difference is because the shareholders would be probably making the mistake in identifying the right growth rate to be expected from the company. Anyway, that's a different sort of a matter, but this is what we have got as cost of equity as per both the methods. Okay, let's move to the cost of debt now. May I have a confirmation that everyone is there with me till now? All of you? Okay. Thank you so much. Received it from many students. Good. Now it comes to the cost of debt. Now some people would be like, sir, cost of debt is very simple to understand. Then why you are making that complicated? Yes, cost of debt is basically the interest rate percentage you have agreed with the party from whom you have taken the loans and borrowings. But my friends, you take the loans and borrowings by various ways. One of the ways is you go to the financial institution or a bank and you take the lump sum loan. So I can call it loan and borrowing. Another way of taking the loan is from the general public at large, that is the debentures. Now debentures or bonds might have its own market value if they are publicly traded. It's not necessary that only the equity shares can be traded. Even the bonds of a company might get traded if they are publicly issued. So you can also invest into the bonds of a company by just in those stock exchanges if those debt securities are listed. Now my friend, if the debentures is there, then the market value of the debenture would be different. The price at which debentures are issued would be different, and the price at which the debenture will get matured once their maturity period would be over, no, that might also be different. Now in that case there would be bit complications. But as far as the loans and borrowings are concerned, the pure term loans from the banks and financial institutions, straight away the interest rate is going to be the cost of debt for you. But if comes the debentures, then some complication arises. Now in those debentures as well, some can be the zero coupon bonds, can also be called as the discounted bonds. Now how this zero coupon bonds actually operate? Let's see the example. They do not give you any interest rate, first of all. Then some people would be like, sir, if they do not give any interest rate, then why any people would invest in it? As the name itself suggests, they are issued at the discount. So I'm just taking the example of zero coupon bond right now. They are issued at the discount. So say you are right now investing in one zero coupon bond at 90, and once the maturity period would be over, they will give you say 120 rupees. So your cost of investment is just 90, and on maturity you get 120 rupees. So obviously this 30 rupees is the profit for you, right? Now for the company, this 30 rupees is the cost, because this cost they are going to incur over the number of years. of maturity of the zero coupon bond. It will have its own maturity, say 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever the case it may be. Why 30 rupees is the cost to company? Because company is just receiving 90 rupees, and at the time of redemption, at the time of maturity, 120 rupees would be paid to investors. So this 30 rupees is going to be the cost for the company to be incurred in this period, right? So that is again the cost of debt. So there are three varieties as far as the cost of debt is concerned. Now, one more thing which is specifically applicable to the cost of debt, that means all of these three, is the benefit of taxation. So when we were studying the advantages of the cost of debt, no, there was one point, if you can recall it, that cost of debt gets the tax advantage. Now let me just take you over there again. Say 100 rupees is the profit of yours, 50 rupees is your all the expenses. So profit before tax is going to be 50 for you, right? Now this is the case where instead of taking the loan, you have issued the equity. So from that profit before tax, say the tax rate is paid 20%, 40%, or 30, whatever the case it would be. Tax at 40%. Tax is charged on profit before tax. So 40% of 50 rupees is 20. So sir, my profit after tax is going to be 30. Now from the 30, you pay the dividend to equity. Let's take the second example where instead of equity, you have issued the debt as a source of finance, or you have taken the loans and borrowings from the bank. So other things remain constant, 100 rupees of revenue, 50 rupees of all the costs. Now here, the cost also includes the interest you pay on that debt, right? Say you pay the interest of 10, then your profit before tax reaches to 40 rupees. And on that, you will be making the tax payment of 40%. So that's gonna be 16 rupees. So your profit after tax will be 40 minus 16. So that's gonna be 24. Now here in this case, there will be no dividend because you have taken the debt instead of taking the money from the equity shareholders. Right now, we are just thinking for that particular decision, For that decision, we had two alternatives. One alternative was to take the equity or to take the debt. Now see, from the profit after tax, you pay the dividend, right? So say dividend would be 10. So actual money that would be left with the company, that will be 20. Here in this case, entire 24 rupee would be left to company. Now you must have observed that your tax amount is reduced because you have paid the debt in the second case. Because interest is the tax deductible expense as per the Income Tax Act 1961. That is why you take the benefit of tax as well while calculating the cost of debt. Because ultimately, by taking it, by charging it as an expense, you do some savings in the tax. So that savings which you are making in the tax should be reduced from the cost of debt so that you arrive to the actual cost of debt after the taxation effect. So sir, how do we come to know about that? So as far as the loans and borrowings are concerned, no, then KD before tax and after tax are very easy to be found. KD before tax, you may just write it somewhere, equal to the interest rate and KD after tax is going to be the interest rate multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. So that is removing the portion of tax benefit you get from the cost of debt. So say the interest rate is 10 percentage. Interest rate is 10 percentage. The pen is not working properly today. I don't know why. And the tax rate is say 30 percentage. So interest rate you will straight away write at 0.10 multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. Tax rate is going to be 30 percentage, 0.30. So 0.1 multiplied by 0.7. So you reach to 0.07. So you can also write it like 7 percentage is the cost of debt after taxation. Effectively, that is the cost you will be incurring, obviously, because you are doing the savings in the taxation. Now, that is applicable specifically to the cost of debt. Tax advantage is given only on the interest, on no other source of finance the tax advantage is given. On equity, you pay the dividend, that is not a tax deductible expense. On preference dividend as well, you pay the dividend, which is again not a tax deductible expense, because dividend is always considered to be the appropriation of the profits. It is not an expense at all. If you distribute something to your owner, it cannot be called as an expense. When you are doing the partnership accounts as well, if you can recall it, if something was taken from the partnership by a partner, we were charging it into a drawings, capital account, we were charging it as the drawings by a partner. It was not charged as an expense, because that's not an expense for the partnership firm. It is just a money which the owner is taking away from the business. Is it clear, my friend? May I have a confirmation, please? Shall I move to the debentures part? All of you, that will be involving some complications. Okay, received it from only Miss Hemali. Mr. Deepesh is well, good. Others, what's the status? And I multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. Miss Veronica, Mr. Mitesh is well, good. Let's move ahead. Now it comes to debentures. In that case, my friend, the problem is that this debentures might be redeemable, might also be irredeemable, this bond or debentures. And if it is irredeemable, then again the calculations would be a bit different. So I'm just drawing a chart over there. One is irredeemable, another one is redeemable. Irredeemable माने के they are there for the perpetual number of years, infinite number of years, till the time company is going to survive. You don't know the number of years at all. So again, the irredeemable becomes very easy. It is straight away the interest rate divided by the sell value multiplied by 100. So you get the irredeemable KD. Now that is before tax. Every one of you will please write this. In case of KD before, this is before tax, I'm writing it. Then KD after tax would be KD before tax multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. Now some people will be like, what is this sell value, sir? I'll come to that. because there can be, the discount on debenture when the debentures are issued. There may be issued at the premium as well. There would be some flotation cost as well for the distribution of debentures. So that's why the sell value would be different from the face value of the debenture. I'm coming to that point, don't worry. Okay, let me just take the sell value right now, then I'll go to the redeemable. Sell value. See, you have the face value of a debenture. First of all, say 100 or anything. Now, face value is the value at which these debentures are recorded. 100, 1000, 10,000, whatever the case it may be. But that debenture might have been issued at a discount or at a premium. If the company feels that no one would be subscribing to the debenture at 100 rupees of the face value, then they may issue it at a discount. And if company feels that the financial position of the company is very strong in the market, then they may issue it at the premium as well, right? So my friend, if they are issued at a premium, then it should be added. And if they are issued at a discount, then it should be reduced. Obviously, because you receive the less amount of money if you issue it at the discount, and you receive the more amount of money if you issue it at the premium. As simple as that. So you add or reduce something from it. This bracket stands for the negative amount. So you get the issue price. Now this is again not the money which the company will receive, because on the issue price as well there is some flotation cost. Say you take the permission from the Securities and Exchange Board of India for the circulation of this debenture in the market. Then you will be having some underwriter as well, who will be taking the responsibility of unsubscribed debentures. Underwriter's responsibility is to take the portion of unsubscribed debentures, So say company comes up with 10,000 debentures and only 9,000 debentures are subscribed in the public. So 1,000 is remaining. So underwriter takes the responsibility to subscribe it, this 1,000 remaining number of units. So underwriter's fee must be paid. They are taking such responsibility. Obviously, they will be charging some commission or fees because of this. Then once everyone would be bidding in that, the IPO will come, Similarly, like the equity, there will be an IPO of this debenture as well, where everyone would be subscribing to this. Then these debentures will be distributed to the holders once the allotment of the debenture takes place. Now there would be a distribution cost as well, right? To every investor, the company will have to giving some e-certificates or some document of proof, whatever the case it would be. So this entire process involves some flotation cost. Now that flotation cost, you will be identifying that how much it is in total. Then you will see that what will be the flotation cost per debenture, Let's say flotation cost is coming at 50 lakhs rupees and we have issued 1 lakh debentures. So if you just divide it, you get 50 rupees per debenture flotation cost. Now flotation cost will obviously again be reduced because that much of money will be received less by the company. So again, deducting the flotation cost. Now you get the sell value. This is the actual money received by a company. Some people will like, sir, why we are not doing that in the equity? Because the problem with the equity is that equity do not have any maturity at all. In equity, you don't do such calculations because equity does not have any maturity only. That is the perpetual kind of the instrument that will remain till the time company is there. It is the permanent source of capital. So finding the expectations of the shareholders and the cost of equity was different.
But sir, these debentures are irredeemable, so they'll also never get redeemed.
True, but see, you will have to take, now these debentures are irredeemable, right? So you take the sell value 1 point, or you may take the market value of these debentures. Now, if those debentures are publicly traded irredeemable, then you also take the market value at which the investors have invested. Then also it's fine. But it is always the accepted practice to include the cost of flotation, to include the premium, to include the discounts at which they are issued, so that these costs are also taken into account while finding the debentures. Now debentures and shares cannot be compared even if they are irredeemable in nature, because one is a debt, another one is the owner's funds. Now when it comes to owners, the approach is pretty much different when it in terms of identifying the cost related to it. That's why when it comes to the debt, it is advisable to also take into account the flotation cost, to take into account the premium or discount at which they are issued. Now that is a generally accepted practice as well. Now sell value we have got for the irredeemable debentures, but for the redeemable debentures as well, the sell value will play a pivotal role. Sell value I have used for the irredeemable debenture because I was taking that formula, but for the redeemable debentures as well, it will play a very pivotal role. Now, majority of the debentures, overwhelming majority of the debentures you take, no, they are redeemable. Hardly very few companies comes up with the irredeemable debentures having the perpetual life. So it might be still the area of concern and research for the people. But when it comes to equity, that is the widely expanded area. Over there, the experts have done the tremendous amount of research already. Over there, we have already got the tremendous amount of literature. And that's why we have got the various methods to find the cost of equity, which are very scientific, which are having some strong rationale as well. But when it comes to cost of debt, and specifically the irredeemable debentures, they are not very famous in the markets as of now. In fact, the debt instruments are not very famous in India at all right now. That's why people might not have found the appropriate way to deal with the cost of debentures as of now. But as per the generally accepted procedure, we may take the sell value as a denomination to find the cost of debt. Is it clear, Vaishali? Confirmation, please. What's the question? Vaishali only, no?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. Let's go to the redeemable debentures. It's already 9:40. Anyway, I'll just be taking 2 minutes and we'll be just discussing the formulas. So there will be two types of redeemable cost of redeemable debentures, obviously before tax and after tax. KD before tax, KD after tax. Now that is related to the redeemable debentures. Okay. So my friend, first of all, the cost is the interest, right? and it is before tax, so I'm not making any adjustment of the taxation right now. Plus, along with that, the company also incurs one more cost. That is the difference between the maturity value and sell value. Because maturity value will be paid on the debenture once the maturity period would be over. Say it is 110, and the sell value you have received right now, the actual money you have received after taking into account the flotation cost and everything, that is say 98. So company is going to spend this 12 rupees, but this 12 rupees is the cost till the maturity. So we'll be converting that 12 rupees on a per annum basis, because when it comes to the cost, our calculations are always on per annum basis. So we'll be dividing this 12 rupees by the number of years of maturity. So the formula can be like maturity value minus, now M stands for the maturity in this case. Do not get confused. Some people will take the market value. I'm using the word maturity value minus sell value divided by N. Now, these two types of costs are incurred on what? On sell value plus maturity value. Now you take the average of these two amounts. One amount is been received by you, one amount would be paid by you. So let's take the average of it. So that is also been generally accepted procedure to take the average as a denomination. So maturity value plus sell value divided by 2. That will be your denominator. And if you multiplied whole with 100, you get the KD before tax. So there are two types of cost. Let's try to understand it conceptually. Let's not rectify it. One is the interest. Now, this I will be the interest per debenture. Do not take it as a rate. Till now we were in the loans and borrowings, we were taking it as a rate. Here we are taking it as the interest per debenture, because everything is calculated in terms of amounts, not in terms of percentage. And the formula of the KD after tax remains the same. Only one difference will take place, that is I in bracket 1 minus tax rate, because you get the tax rate benefit on this interest amount as well, right? Plus market value, maturity value minus sell value divided by N. N stands for the number of years left in the maturity, to be divided by MV plus SV divided by 2. KD after tax. And KD for the zero coupon bonds, we'll do it later on by using the formula of the IRR. So we have done just 4 simple formulas. In fact, 5, sorry. One was the loans and advances. So loans and advances straight away I, interest rate, and if it is after tax, then interest rate multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. If it is debentures, then you identify irredeemable or redeemable. If it is irredeemable, then interest rate divided by sell value multiplied by 100. And if it is redeemable, and obviously the tax effect needs to be given, for the post tax cost of that. And for the redeemable, you have got before tax and after tax. The formula remains more or less same. Only change will take place in the interest, because in after tax you will have to multiply that with 1 minus tax rate as well. So these are a few formulas we have done. Please write it down. May I have a confirmation that you have got it? Is there any query or question till now, all of you? Okay, thank you so much. Please put your enrollment number as a mark of your attendance. That's it from my side for the day. Bye-bye, take care, sayonara, enjoy the rest of the day.